Welcome back to OCD Coded. My name is Erin Brown. I'm a therapist and I have OCD myself. And my hope with this is to help you turn your OCD into a superpower. So, I still need to work on that intro. I'm still working on just doing these straight, and I was going to do a live stream today, but then I couldn't get all the stuff figured out. So here we go. We'll try and get that set up for next time. Um, Instead of having to go through all the middle steps. And I have such a block with doing these sometimes. I get into my head about my fears, which is OCD is always about an obsession, about some kind of fear. And so, some of my fears about AI, and then the whole, if I have all these videos of me, then it's easy to copy those, or, my likeness and all that. I find that it's hard, but that this is what this whole thing is about, is confronting our fears and like identifying the fear and then confronting it or responding to it differently. And so, talking about that today and what I call OCD traps, like, and I have to be able to identify it. And once I do, it's so freeing, even though it's still hard to follow through with necessarily. It's just empowering is another word for it. And so I'll tell you about my trap and then hopefully kind of go through, I'd love to hear about what some of yours are, what you can identify as you try to be curious and just kind of identify which one it might be for you. And so one of my deep ones that took me a long time to kind of uncover, but to give you an example or an idea, there's usually some kind of obsession about being a bad person. And so then it's like, if I'm a bad person, a bad person doesn't feel bad about what they did. And so, but good people feel bad about what they did. So if I want to be a good person, then I have to feel bad about myself forever. Otherwise, I'm a bad person. And so that's one of those traps. And then one of the ways that can, really get me kind of looped into then feeling like I have to feel bad forever. And um and so like I'm trying, some of the other traps that may be about like I have to have the best time ever. And if I don't have the best time ever, then it wasn't worth it, or that I'm not good enough unless I can create that kind of experience or have that kind of experience. And when we say them out loud, they lose their power in so many ways. But when they're in our head, they don't. And so being able to really identify those. And I just wanted to take a little extra time today to talk about this. I think I've mentioned them in some of my other videos before, but that, it's always good to really think about. And as I continue to work on evolving myself and going into the unknown, and that's what I hope to help y'all do. And in that way of, I want to continue to transform myself and help others to transform themselves, and trying to write a book also, which is, really hard too. The vulnerability and just the feeling like I have ideas, but it's so hard to get started because of the fears. And that's what the core of OCD is the obsession, is the fear, and the compulsion is anything that to do to decrease the distress of the unknown. So another trap I get into with OCD is about like well, if I never do it, then I'll never know, and or it can look like the perfectionism. Like if I can't do it perfectly, then I won't do it at all. But then it's also, I just have such an avoidance, and thinking about attachment styles and all of those and some of the past videos, it's, that I just avoid. It's like I just paralyzing, like I can't bring myself to do it, and how, hard that can be. And trying to convince myself in all the different ways about like it's better to like put yourself out there and try and make a mistake than to never try at all. And while again I know that intellectually that's true, and I even feel that deeply in my heart, it can be such just paralyzing, this fear of the unknown, but also that fear of, well, I don't want to know that I can't do it or I fail. But then how do I get on board with that it's okay to make mistakes, or it's okay to fail in certain ways? And that doesn't mean I'm a failure, because that's one of those OCD traps. Like if I fail, then I'm a failure forever, not just at a single point in time. And that failing is a part of succeeding, and just all of that. And how can we get into that place where we are accepting, um, responsibility without shame and blame, and being able to walk into all these uncertain times that are around us, and then um, be able to be in the moment and have peace. And I just keep thinking about like the things about OCD that it steals, like, that part of it is chasing peak experiences, like, oh my God, that felt so good. And I want to feel it again, whether it's a connection or a show or whatever it is that like makes us have that good feeling. And then it's like becoming obsessed with that and afraid I won't feel a good feeling again. And so I chase that good feeling, and how that can mimic a lot of different kind of addictions and everything too. And how that's obsession is the fear, the scarcity mindset is another way to look at that. And that's another good way to focus this with the OCD traps, is really another way to say scarcity mindset of how do I recognize that it comes from this fear. And I think of that too with one of the ways to identify an OCD trap is by it makes me feel trapped. And so, like, when I feel trapped, my mind is going to get into overdrive and fill me with fear and doubt and calculations and da 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 da. I need to do this, I need to do this right now, or something bad's going to happen. So, in whatever way I feel trapped, like I feel trapped in um, in grief, in the way that like nothing ever seems to work out the way I want or intend, or I feel misunderstood and all of that, or just feeling trapped in even in, like, for me with that, one of the things that keeps it so complicated and hard to break through is I'm so afraid of being trapped that I don't want to be trapped, but then I can't get out of the trapness. It's like the OCD, that I'm so afraid of not being able to do the thing that I want to do, that I feel trapped into not doing it. And how frustrating that is. And so so that can be a good way to start to notice your own traps, is like, okay, when do I feel trapped? When do I feel trapped and then scared? Like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to feel this again or do this again, or oh my gosh, like never again. Like or I have to stand up for this, because if I don't, that means, I'll never get another chance. And just how we can still motivate ourselves without having to put on that urgency or that, implied pressure. And I just think about that too with the time we spend or waste trying to motivate ourselves instead of just doing the thing. And how so much with OCD too is I have to get out of my head and into action. I have to identify the traps and the times I feel trapped, and that'll help me start to like break apart those knots a little bit more. And how to identify a different way that just when I feel stuck is another way to identify those traps. And feeling stuck with releasing these videos was my thing. I had to use and try and practice what I preach about, all the things about how to just release one and, get through that part and just do it. Just get back on the schedule of doing it, and, begin again. And one of my favorite techniques with that. So just like begin again, forgive yourself for getting off the horse or whatever, for getting off task or for losing focus or for failing. Forgive yourself quickly and try again. Begin again quickly. Forgive, or like just, it doesn't have to mean like pretend like everything's fine, but it's just like, but begin again. And let's just keep focusing on beginning again. And that's what I'll have to keep doing several times. I mean, even a day, to be able to, and then just being gentleness and noticing how that gentleness of moving through life really helps me. Like, I can be gentle with myself. I can move through life with a gentleness and realize when there's that like fear and doubt and shame, that that's not the direction I want to go. And so it's, when I feel that kind of swelling of energy within me, how can I try and bring back that peace by, first being like, I'm okay in this moment. What can I do in this moment? And like be here now and really notice the trap, kind of like I'm sidestepping them and being curious about them, and then how just like loosens up their power. And then I'm able to start to do a video again, or however I'm going to do it. So, whatever it is that I'm stuck on, or whatever it is I feel trapped about, can I practice it? And we plan to go on next time with the video with some about ERP, or exposure response prevention, which is my first kind of line of defense for OCD. And when I'm stuck, and how to kind of identify that fear and set up ways to start practicing doing it differently. And that's a lot of kind of what we've been talking about today, in some ways, about just noticing my trap, and then saying, okay, I normally respond to this trap by doing this, and now I'm gonna just try anything else besides that. So I wish you the best on your journey, and I hope to hear from you soon, and have a good time until next time. Bye.